Alright, so I'm going to show you how to play everything that we heard in the intro there, note for note. I'm going to break it down for you. If you want to download the tablature for this lesson, you can get that at activemelody.com. Also, I've got lots of other blues type, roots type guitar lessons that are similar to this. And so if you like this style of playing and you want to learn more, definitely check out the website, activemelody.com. So let's go ahead and break this down. Now the first thing that I do is I play these two notes that go, and I kind of let them ring out a little bit. And that's the kind of thing that sounds good if you've got a lot of heavy distortion or overdrive with your amp, especially if you get a little feedback. Although I will say you can play this on an acoustic guitar as well, so you don't have to be on an electric. This will work either way. And I wasn't going to leave this little corny intro. Well, it's not corny, but this little, the little intro thing in. Foxy Ladies, almost like Hendrix or something. But I wasn't going to leave that in. But then I knew as soon as I didn't, somebody would say, "Hey, that's not what you played in the intro." So I'm including it for those of you that want to get it note for note. So that's what I'm doing. And so I'm starting here on the 2nd fret, 3rd string with my middle finger, and I'm sliding up to the 4th fret, 3rd string. Then I take my pointer finger and I come down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. And I apply a little bit of vibrato to let them ring out a little bit. And that's really all there is to those first two notes. Now, you're going to see those again in a minute, so remember that. Then what I do after that is I do a slide from the 4th fret down to the 2nd fret on the 3rd string there, like that. And then I do a hammer-on, so I play an open 3rd string, hammer on to the 1st fret. Now, so what I've got is that. Now, after I hammer on to the 1st fret, I'm going to take my middle finger and my ring finger on my left hand and go ahead and push them down on strings on the 2nd fret, strings 5 and 4. And you'll see what I'm doing is I'm playing the E chord here in 1st position. So after I do that hammer on, I go ahead and push those two down to complete the E chord. Now, you don't actually play anything just yet, but you're putting them down so that they're in position for it. And because right after as soon as you do that, then I'm going to come down and play strings. Really, it's kind of somewhere between strings 6, 5, and 4. What you're really the one string you got to hit is the 6th string to define sort of the bass note. But the good thing about creating a chord like this is if you do slip up and you hit strings 6 and 5, for example, or 6, 5, and 4, it doesn't matter. It's going to work either way because you've completed the E chord here. So that's kind of how I like to think of it. As long as you've got it down with your left hand, you can be sloppy, a little more sloppy with your right hand, and it's still going to sound good. So those are your first two notes. Then we come down and go. So as soon as you do that hammer on, that's where you go ahead and hit those low notes, the E chord. Now after that, then I take my middle finger and I bar the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret, which is really an A chord. And what I'm playing is I'm playing strings 4, 3, and 2. Sometimes I might hit that 5th string, but what I really should be playing is strings 4, 3, and 2. So I have. So it's an E, A. Now after that, then I'm going to come back to this. That, which we learned. Those are the first two notes that we learned. So again, it's 3rd fret, 2nd string, 4th fret, 3rd string, and I kind of slide into them. Now what's cool is you can also hit this high E string here, or the 1 string, and it works, and it actually sounds pretty good. I think it sounds better to hit that string as well. So you can be a little sloppy, whether you hit those 3 strings or just those 2 strings. It's going to work either way. So let me back up and cover everything we've done thus far. So we have first 2 notes. So we have 1, 2, 3. That's kind of how you can think of it. Then we're going to go to 4, which is going to be back to the A. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And actually, we're almost at a point now of being able to repeat that. So. Now, after you get back to the A again, what we're going to do is we're going to hammer on to that E chord again. Again, that's on the 3rd string, open, hammering on to the 1st fret of the 3rd string. After I do that, again, I'm going to go ahead and complete the E chord, so I have that. This time I'm going to come down, hit the low notes, you know, the 6th string, or maybe the 6th and 5th. And then after I hit that, I'm going to do an upstroke with my pick and hit strings 1 and 2 with the pick, and it's just a quick rake of those first 2 strings. If you just take your pick and you just let it sort of naturally kind of pick up, you're going to just naturally grab those first 2 strings. And the good news is if you're holding the E chord, it doesn't matter if you hit the first 3 strings. You're covered either way. So again, that's why you want to sort of complete the chord there. So what that sounds like in context is, and so again it's hammer on, low note, high note, hammer on. Let's watch the strokes here with the right hand too. So it's down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Okay, so let me back up, and we've got intro. There. It's kind of a cool little groove. And once you get it going, you just don't want to get out of it because it feels really good. And you can put it to a shuffle, you can play it fast, you can play really slow. All kinds of cool things you can do with that rhythm once you get it down. Using those same notes, you can just change the timing up, and that's the kind of, I use that all the time, especially if I'm doing like a jam with somebody, and instead of just going, you know, it sounds much cooler to throw in a little. Something like that. So okay, so we really have the E part at this point. So we have the intro, just keeps repeating. Then what I did is I play the A part, the A7th part, and go. And what I'm doing there, I'm just playing one chord. Again, I'm barring strings 4, 3, 2, and 1 on the 2nd fret, this time with my pointer finger. And then I take my ring finger. I know this is probably not the correct way to do it, but this is how I make an A7th chord. I take my ring finger and I push down on the 1st string on the 3rd fret. Now, a lot of people will tell you to use your maybe middle finger or whatever, but I don't get too caught up on that because we're all wired a little different. So that's how I do it. Pointer finger, barring those strings, and then my ring finger down on the 3rd fret, 1st string. And what I do is, from a rhythm standpoint, as I'm playing, and by the way, the strings you're playing are strings 5, 4, 3, and 2, and 1. And that's an A7th chord, which sounds nice, sounds kind of bluesy. You don't play the bottom string, or the low E string, the 6th string for that. So there's your A 7th chord. So once you get to that, once I get to that, I play. And what I'm doing is, this is hard to do when you slow it down, but it's just, I always hit sort of that low note to define it, just to say, okay, your ear says, okay, now we're in the A part. And after I hit the low note to define it, then I play, and I'm doing one, or down, up, kind of like a paint brush down. And then I do it again, I go 1, down, up. So let me back up and we'll get up to that A part. The first time through, you may want to just do, instead of going down, up, you may just want to go define it and then go down, up, down, up. I think that's what I did. So there's all kinds of different ways you can do this. You could just go down, up. It's kind of when you're just learning it though. The important thing that I should stress in that is that you're learning to do alternate strumming. So alternate strumming is when you're combining down strokes with up strokes. So it's defining it is the most important way to start it, and that's always done with a downstroke. So that's a down. Then you're going and doing that. Now the way I got back to the E was I went. And I'm just taking that 3rd fret 1st string, and I'm doing a slight bend just so I push it a little bit sharp. Then I'm going to play the open E string, the high E string, or the 1 string. Then I'm going to come down to the 2nd fret 2nd string with my middle finger. And then I'm just going to try and grab the first 2 strings, open strings, and an upstroke. So it's down, up as the picking pattern. So it's now, as soon as you hit that upstroke again, it allows you to do to take your fingers off the fretboard, because it's the first 2 notes of the E chord. So while you take your fingers off the fretboard, then you can put them back in place, so that you can get that back down to the E and do that stuff. So let me back up. I'll play just from the A part, transitioning from the A part to the E part. Let me do it slower. Now, as soon as you hit that upstroke with the hitting the first 2 strings, you're back down, hitting the bottom string again. And notice what you're doing is you're defining the E part now. So when you hear that low note, usually what you're doing is you're defining. It's sort of like the bass part. You're saying, okay, now we're in E. And then we're back to. Okay, now let me start the whole thing over again up to that point, just so you have as a reference. Now what I do is I come to the B 7th chord. And what I do there is I play, let me show you how to make this chord real quick. It's middle finger on the 2nd fret 5th string, pointer finger on the 1st fret 4th string, ring finger on the 2nd fret 3rd string. So you have those, and then you take your pinky and you come down here to the 2nd fret, 1st string. You can see it kind of cramming in there. So you have that note. Okay? And that's how I like to make a B7 in 1st position down here. And so once you get to the B part, again, you're defining the chord by playing that first note of it in the bass end. So this time it's on the, you're hitting that note, which is 2nd fret, 2nd fret, 5th string. And after you hit it, you've defined it, then you can go ahead and brush in the chord. And what I do is I kind of go, after I define it, I go down, down, up. And then I come in and play this. And all I'm doing, I use my pinky because it just feels better to do it that way. Since you're already, your pinky's already playing that 1st string, 2nd fret, I go ahead and slide my pinky up to the 4th fret on the 1st string. And notice what I'm picking here. Now this is where you have to get kind of laser focused. I'm doing down, up, but I'm only doing it on the 1 string, or the high E string. So I'm going. And now, after that, I play the open E string back to the 2nd fret, 2nd string, and then we're back to that E part. Okay? So, that was kind of sloppy. Okay. Alright, so let me go back and I'll repeat the whole thing so you have this as a reference. I'll repeat the whole first half of this rhythm part. So here we go. Okay. One other thing I should point out when I do the that little part for the B, it's actually okay if your pick comes down and hits the 2nd string as well, like that, because it's kind of harmonizing with the note. So that's just by chance, but and that is a B note, so it's an open B note. So that does work with the chord. So I'm just you could do it either way. You could be very precise, or you could go, in either way will sound good. So that's the first half. Second half, then when I come back, I'm going to hit the low E again to define the chord. And then I come up here and play this chord. Now this chord is a chord that I got from Freddie King in Hideaway. That whole thing. So when he's so that's where that chord comes from. It's really kind of emulating a horn part. It's going to be an awkward chord to play at first, but once you get the grip of it, it'll be very easy and very natural for your hand to come to, especially if you're playing in the key of E. I find myself jumping to this chord a lot because it sounds really kind of jazzy, and it's just a cool chord to jump to. So let me show you how to make the chord. So it's I put my pinky down on the 12th fret 1st string. Then I take my pointer finger and come down here to the 9th fret 2nd string. Then I take my middle finger and I come down here to the 11th fret 3rd string. Then I take my ring finger and I'm back on the 12th fret, but this time on the 4th string. So those are the notes. Let me pick them apart slowly. those are the notes of that chord, and what you're going to want to practice doing is just grabbing that chord, and you'll be able to do it quickly after you practice it for about just 5 minutes or so of just kind of grabbing the chord. And once you sort of memorize where your fingers need to go, it'll come more natural. Now, for those of you on an acoustic guitar, you're getting kind of high on the neck for an acoustic, so but luckily we don't go any higher than that. So, but anyway, that's that Freddie King chord. For those of you familiar with Hideaway. So now in the second part, so the first thing I do is I define the the chord rather, with hitting that low E on the low 6th string. Then I play. And what I do there is I go. And by the way, I'm strumming really the strings 3, 2, and 1, although every now and then I'm hitting the 4th string. And I'm going down, up with my right hand. So now watch what happens here. Then I take my pointer finger and I slide it up. I leave these 3 fingers in place, but I take my pointer finger, and I slide it up from the 9th fret to the 10th fret on the 2nd string, like that. So you go, and then I go back down. So you go 9, 8, 9. Notice the right hand is just down, up, 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 down, up. And that's just a kind of a more, I guess, an interesting way if you're playing something in E to go to something a little higher on the neck, and it gives you a different voicing for that, and a different way to obviously chord, and just kind of keeps it interesting. So that's the first thing that happens. Then I come down and I go, and all I'm doing there is I'm just playing an E chord. And the work is really happening with the pinky. If you'll notice, I'm playing an E chord. I go ahead and sneak my pinky into the 2nd string, 2nd fret, on top of the E chord, or in addition to the E chord, I should say. I go ahead and keep the E chord with these 3 fingers, slide my pinky now up to the 3rd fret, 2nd string, which gives you an E7th chord. Now we're going to go back to the 2nd string, and then we're going to take him off. So the notes that pinky's creating is, hear it? And so that's just another kind of rhythm thing. I find myself doing that a lot. That sounds really good on an acoustic guitar. Notice the right hand is just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Hear it slowly. Okay, so let's back that up. So the first thing is, then we come down here and go. And then I go to the A part. This time, just to make it sound a little more interesting, I always use that word. I should come up with a better way to say that. But what I do with the A part there, again, define the note, define the chord by hitting the low note. So that's the open E, the open 5th string, or the A string. Now I take my ring finger and come to the 2nd fret, 2nd string, and then my pointer finger, I'm going to skip a string, comes to the 4th fret, 2nd string, and I'm playing notes 5, 4, 3, which is open, 2, and really those, and then every now and then it's okay to hit the 1 string as well, but that's just a different way of playing an A7th chord, but it has a real kind of a neat sound to it. So when I come to that A part, I'll go. So I play that, and then I come up and go. And this, what I'm doing here, is again, you'll notice that okay, the one common finger, the finger that doesn't leave the fretboard, or doesn't leave the string, I should say, is the middle finger here. When I slide up to this voicing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my ring finger off the fretboard like that. So middle finger stays down. He's going to come up to the 4th fret, 4th string now. Now I'm going to take my pointer finger and push down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, still leaving an open 3rd string. So the only 2 strings that are being fretted are strings 4 and 2. And so you have an open 5th string. Now you have that 4th fret, 4th string. There's your open 3rd string. 2nd string, 3rd fret. And that gives you this kind of a nice little way of playing that A. So that's all I'm doing is I'm just starting here, coming up to that, and then back to the A7. Again, the important thing to pay attention to is the fingers that stay down and the fingers that leave. The middle finger, just watch my middle finger here. You can see it just stays locked down, and the ones that are coming and going are the ring finger and the pointer finger. And so when you're first learning this, just try doing, just be able to switch between those 2 chords. And it won't take you, for the very first couple times you do it, it's going to be a challenge, but then you'll get it down and you'll wonder why you ever struggled with it. And then I come back to the E. And then back to the B7. And then, close it out. And really, that's all there is to it. Those are the only new parts. So let me play that whole second half so you have that, and then I'll back up and play the whole thing. So here's the second half. I think I ended it with something like that, and I just played it's just an E chord pushed down on the E. It's kind of a jazzy way of doing that. Push down on the 2nd fret, 2nd string, your pinky there. So that's kind of a fun way to end a song that's in the key of E. So there it is, second half. Let me back up. I'll play the whole thing through, and you have that as a reference, and that'll be it. All right, so here we go. There you have it. So if you haven't liked me on Facebook, I ask you to do so because it's a great way for you to stay in touch and know when I have new lessons. So it's facebook.com/activemelody. I also put up a lot of guitar related information. Can't talk tonight. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/activemelody. And obviously, if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, that's a great way to stay in touch. So just hit the subscribe button wherever it is on the screen, and another great way to sort of stay in the loop. Well, that's all I have for this lesson, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.